Hello, hello. So today I have a bit of a departure from the norm. Not only are we going to be going over a bot lane Proview, but we're going to be going over two of them because in one of them the lane ends very very quickly. Both cases we'll be going over Jackeylove and his series top esports against JDG. Right. So the first lane we'll be going over is his Varus Nautilus versus JDG's Jhin Leona. And then the second one will be Kalista Nautilus against JDG's, what was it, Varus Thresh, I believe. So first one, like I said, lane ends pretty quickly. It's pretty one-sided, and then it kind of stalls out. So that's why I'm going to kind of do two of these, because if I only did one of them, it would just be way too short. This is mostly just go over a couple of like key mistakes he makes in lanes. What you see in these LPL VOD reviews is you see small mistakes that don't get punished in regions like NA, getting punished extremely hard, right? So you make one positioning area, you step out of line one time, they jump on that, you're dead immediately, right? And you're going to kind of see that in this first lane especially. Um, Both deaths that end up happening are entirely just off of one small mistake. And you also get to see why why Varus gets picked a lot with Tahm Kench and Thresh. He needs a way out in a lot of these lanes, especially against melee supports. If he doesn't have it, he ends up being put in a spot where he's very easy to lock down and kill. So, as we open up, I know it hasn't exactly shown yet, but he's going lethality, and he's opted into Halo Blades. Right? Oh, yeah, actually, you can see it down there. So your two options in lethality Varus are Halo Blades and Comet. You go Comet in lanes where you're not really going to be able to auto attack very much, and you go Halo Blades in situations where you're just looking for the quick 3 auto attacks, pop your W passive, right? You're just looking at for basically just better auto trading, right? So against like an Ezreal or something, you'd rather go Comet because you're not going to get a lot of autos off, but against this Jhin lane and the Leona lane, because it's a melee support, taking Halo Blade is something that Varus can do and get away with and be fine, right? Naturally, you E-start, and because of the Jhin being able to dodge out of stuff like W and being able to dodge out of Leona E's and stuff gets, not dodge, sorry, sustain through some of these harder trades, gets very important. Instead of starting Deep Blade, he instead starts Longsword 3 pots, right? By starting Longsword 3 pots, you basically just makes you make more mistakes, right? If you take a little bit of poke through Jhin W, you take a little bit of poke through Jhin Q, or you maybe take a bad trade early on. Those 3 pots make it so you can heal back to full. As long as you don't get 100 to 0'd, you can mess up in the lane and still be okay. So let's see what ends up happening level 1 here. So they walk in here, look for something with the LeBlanc. There's no ward, but they see them and walk away. Alright, easy. It's something where you have to try, you don't really lose anything from doing it. As long as you're not 5 stacked, you're fine. Alright. So Udyr's starting bot side, he's going to be pathing bot to top. They'd have no wards to actually know where Nidalee is starting. The only thing I can really infer is if she takes a leash, if Renekton comes to lane with rage, or if bot side comes to lane either missing mana or HP, then you can kind of assume where she started from there, right? Other than that, there's not really a lot you can go off of. What you do know for sure, though, is that Udyr will be pathing away from you early levels, right? And he's going to, with the way that he manipulates the wave, kind of shows that he has that in mind, right? So they're sitting here in lane, they're not leashing. They want to make sure they get control of where the lane goes, right? Because they know that Udyr's pathing away. They want to make sure they're in a safe enough lane spot in case Nidalee is pathing top to bot. All right, so hits the wave a couple times, if only to make sure that they can get level 2 first and try to harass with that. All right, so the goal here, that you can kind of see what he's doing with the wave, the goal here for them is to basically look to crash on wave 3 so that it bounces back, right? Because if you can get that done, then he can get the wave back on his side of the map by the time that Udyr comes down, and they can get a gank on Udyr's second clear. The question is whether or not the Leona and the Jhin will actually allow them to do that, because this is actually a fairly solid lane into the Varus. And that's where you kind of see the Jhin getting picked up a lot here. So just here's like a quick aside. This has nothing to do with the actual lane. Something I mentioned earlier was that Varus tend to get picked a lot with stuff like Tahm Kench and Thresh. The reason he gets that literally comes down to lanes like these. if he's ever in a spot where he just positions poorly or makes one small mistake, he can die from full if he doesn't have that kind of escape, whether it's Thresh Lantern or Tom Kench Devour, right? And like I said, in the second you're going to see it. So what you see Jackeylove kind of doing here is just continuing to harass with his E and with his Halo Blades procs. He gets very good level 1 trades in. What I can assume is that Jhin may have done the same start that the Varus did, except instead of Longsword, he may have gone Boots 4 Pot. Something that's actually very common against Varus because the extra move speed helps you dodge out a lot. So yep, they crash here on wave 2. Wave should be bouncing back. By the time Nautilus comes bot, the idea is that the wave's going to be coming back into them. So the towers killed enough minions at this point where they can kind of just look to last hit and wait for the wave to come back into them. One nice thing about Jhin is because his attack speed is so slow and he has the reload mechanic, Jhin can't really... He's not the best at holding waves and slow pushing waves, mainly due to the fact that he has to use his Q a lot to last hit minions. Right? And when you're using the Q a lot, you're chipping away at minions' HP bars, and eventually they're going to go down, right? So you can't just do the thing where other ADKs can do where they just auto attack and just last it on everything. His attack speed is just slow enough, and with reload and everything, he has to eventually look to Q things. So this wave is coming into them over time. Looks like they're trying to fight it a little bit so this doesn't overcrash, so that they can't look for a dive with Nidalee on an overly stacked wave. This is actually something I was talking about a second ago. So you make one positioning error. One thing you need to realize against lanes like Jhin Leona, especially skill shot reliant lanes, the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a corner like this, right? Actually, let me pull up Snipping Tool. I can probably just kind of draw out where exactly you don't want to be. So take this, right? You have this lane state, right? How do I zoom out here? I believe it's Control Z or Control Shift Z. Whatever. You can see enough here. All right. So if you're anywhere in this kind of area, or even up against the wall, like just up against the wall in general, so like this area even, right? What ends up happening is you're taking away 1 to 2 directions you can actually look to dodge, right? So like if you're up against that wall, you no longer have the ability to dodge up. All you can do is you can dodge forward, which doesn't matter. Backward, it doesn't matter because the skill shot still hits, or dodge to the right. So if you push yourself up in this spot specifically, this is like a kill zone, right? Because if you dodge forward or backwards, skill shot still hits because you're shooting straight. Because imagine she's standing here, right? Just gonna draw a random stick person, which is what ends up happening. Imagine she's standing here, right? Leona throws E, you dodge forward, E still hits. You try to walk backwards, E still hits, assuming she's in range. So what she can do actually is she can kind of throw it right around this area. I'm sorry if these lines are getting a little bit confusing. Because if he throws it here, you obviously can't dodge up. If you dodge down, E still hits. So you're putting yourself in a spot where no matter what happens, the E is going to hit, right? Especially with wave coming in, there's no reason for him to ever really be in this spot. So let's actually see what happens. Exactly what I said. He steps right in the exact spot where he can't really get out. Leona steps into range, gets her E off. So this is kind of a spot where I talk to my players. If you know that eating a skill shot will take you down to 100 HP or low in early lane, you have to flash the skill shot, right? And granted, he's not perfect. If he misses the flash, he misses the flash, right? But you can kind of tell later on he's literally just kind of holding the summoners to be greedy, right? He's in a spot here where he has to flash because let's say hypothetically, like actually let's watch the rest of play out and I'll go on it afterward. So yeah, he makes a mistake with positioning. Jhin ends up flashing, getting the kill, right? So let's say hypothetically, when he flashes here, when he finally does blow his cleanse and blow his flash, let's say hypothetically he lives, right? Like maybe he lives. He's still missing out on when the second wave comes in on 2 waves of experience at level 2, meaning that when he comes back to lane, he's going to be dealing with the Jhin Leona that's level 3.5 to 4, while he's still level 2. They're just going to zone him off the wave, and the lane is fucked regardless, right? By flashing the skill shot, what it allows you to do, even like, it sucks kind of burn your flash, like if you want to obviously hold as long as possible, by flashing the skill shot, what it allows you to actually do is it allows you to at least stay to catch the wave, right? Falling behind that much experience this early in lane is something that you literally cannot afford to do, especially in kill lanes like these. Because it puts you at like not only like a level advantage, like level disadvantage is one thing for damage. Obviously, you want points in your abilities, but it's even bigger for base stats. So you're missing on a lot of HP, you're missing on a lot of AD that you can actually use to trade with, and you lose all pressure in a Varus lane, which is something that just feels awful. So one thing that gets noted here, you're gonna see it in chat. Jhin flash, Leona doesn't flash, right? So Leona still has flash. They know you don't have any summoners. because of what happens topside, you can actually, I'm going to go back a little bit. So Udyr finishes his clear. He paths down to top crab, and this is where a crucial piece of information goes down, right? He's going to path down, he's going to path down. He sees Nidalee on crab. All right. When you see Nidalee on crab, what you can say is that Nidalee path bot to top, right? 335, she's going to get this. Maybe she'll like to do something top. She doesn't do something top. She's going to reset and head back bot side, right? So now what you've done is you put yourself in a. You have to be aware as Jackeylove here. You have to be aware that since because Nidalee's on top side, all of her camps are going to be up. Her camps are respawning with either golems or raptors first, depending on what order she did them in, right? Probably golems, just because that's a sane person's clear. You've now put yourself in a position where you are down both summoners. Leona still has flash, and Nidalee is going to be bot side in the next 45 seconds, right? So when you get back to lane, you have to keep in mind that you are 99% going to be ganked if you put yourself in a position. If you put yourself in a position to be, and they're going to flash in you for it because they're going to expend everything they can for you, right? Even though Leona Ignite is down, her flash is still up. So that's something you have to keep in mind going back into lane, right? And this feels like something that was just kind of overlooked. Because again, you see Nidalee on top crab, Udyr goes down to bot crab. You know that what Nidalee is going to do is maybe she looks for something top, but after that she resets and she heads down, right? I actually like this quite a bit from top support. He's just looking to hold as much of the wave as possible because at the very least, you want to minimize your losses in XP like I mentioned earlier. So this mentions that Jackeylove can actually catch most of the wave. Even if he doesn't get all the CS, he at least gets the experience. That's the important part, right? All right. So Udyr is on crab, not crab. Udyr's walking to Grump. Nidalee, she didn't show top, she didn't show mid. She's not just aimlessly walking around the map. She reset. She's headed back bot side, right? You know this for a fact. Udyr is doing Grump, and he's going to be pathing away from you again because he has to. Unless he comes down right now, he's going to be pathing away from you. They know that. You know that, right? As again, one thing they know for sure is because Scrying Orb was popped, they also know that Udyr started bot to top. So when Udyr does his camp here, he's going to be pathing away from. He's going to be pathing away. So if LeBlanc is in lane and Udyr doesn't show bot in the next 15 seconds, what you can assume is that he's going to be on wolves and he's going to be pathing towards his top side. So you're making a play that you know is a favorable play if you're JDG on Jackeylove coming up here, right? So you place the pink ward. That pink ward is just to say, all right, at least if Nidalee tries to come, she can't just throw a spear from out of vision and hit me while I'm trying to play in a safe pocket, right? So they're looking to still push the wave out, look to kind of stack it so that they can use minion advantage to get the wave in without having to worry too much. Because at this stage in the game, minion aggro still hurts a lot. If they try to take a fight against a very large minion wave, they're doomed. Right? So they're looking to stack wave, they're looking to get it in. Alright, so this is something that can never, ever, ever happen. Right? On one side, you're never going to stop Leona from actually destroying your ward due to the fact that she gets extra attack speed after using your Q. She has an auto reset, and then after using the Q, she gets extra attack speed. So as soon as it hits it one time, she's going to get the next 3 in like a second. Right? Secondly, because of what I mentioned earlier, Udyr is pathing away from you. They know that Udyr is pathing away from you. Nidalee's on bot side. You know that Nidalee's on bot side. You have no summoners. I don't remember if Nautilus flashed. He may have not. I can't remember the top of my head. And Leona still has flash. You're in lethal here, and again, the same thing I mentioned earlier. You're up against a wall. Where can you dodge? You have one realistic angle that you can actually dodge, right? And because she's flashing, you also can't dodge backwards. So you literally can only dodge down. You're putting yourself in a spot where you're guaranteed to get hit. So you're contesting vision with your jungler on top side when you know their jungler's on bot side. It's something you literally can't do ever. And you see you pays for it. All right, Nidalee's here, just like I said she would be. Flashes, because you have no flash, you can't get away. All right. Now you've essentially burnt everything, right? Your support's screwed. You're screwed. You have nothing you can realistically buy. You're just going to end up buying another longsword, right? Another wave crashes. You fall even further behind and kills an experience. Now you're putting your support in a spot where he can get dove. Granted, I don't think he should have been there because he can't really realistically hold the wave. Again, you know that Udyr's top side, so they can look to kind of dive the Nautilus if they want to. Nautilus without Aftershock is actually extremely squishy. So as soon as the Aftershock goes down, it's just, all right, we just kill you from 100 to 0, right? All right. So from here, your top side just died. Udyr is basically going to be resetting his ping, and he's going to be pathing down the bot side, right? So everything they do with the wave up to now is with that in mind. They don't want to push it out too quickly, and they don't want to push it out too slowly. So one thing that's actually really nice about what happened here with this wave, it doesn't matter that this wave crashed. Normally when a wave crashes, what you can say is the wave is going to slow push out, right? It doesn't matter that this wave actually crashed though, because the wave that's coming in never actually interacts with it. So it's as if the wave never existed. So what's going to happen here is these waves are going to meet directly in the middle of the lane. So you can kind of just go off of a fresh lane state and manipulate the waves from there, right? Like I said, minions never interact. He's trying to slow them down, it looks like. Something you can actually do with minions after first wave is you can actually step in front of them and kind of slow them down a little bit. So the lane will very, 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 very slowly be pushed out. So he's just last hitting. He's waiting for his for Udi to get bot. He's waiting for Nautilus to come back, and they're playing off of the fact that, all right, again for another 2 minutes, they know I don't have flash, right? Italy will have cleared your top side, head back down. They're going to look to repeat the gate they just did a second ago again, right? That's what they're playing off of. So they're basically saying, all right, we're going to have Udyr down from that. Going to look to turn the lane. Going to try to get a 3v3 kill on our own, right? That's the angle they're going for. All right, wave is slowly pushing in. This is actually something that I talk to my players about a lot. When you have your jungler on the bot side of the map, you can play like it, but you can also feign it, right? Obviously, their jungler's on the bot side of the map. What they're doing is they're playing with pressure. They're saying, all right, Udyr is here. You can't realistically engage in us. You know that there's a good chance Udyr is here, so they have to concede the wave, have to let us get it in, right? So they do. Get poke off, get to crash wave. They're basically just saying, all right, Udyr's here. We can basically do whatever we want to for the next 30 to 40 seconds, right? That timer is extended as soon as Udyr takes Drake. Because now it's not just an assumption like are they faking it? Is Udyr actually bot? You know for a fact Udyr's actually bot. It's announced over the Drake take, right? So once Drake is down, they again have another 30 to 40 seconds where they can feign either play with this pressure or feign this pressure, saying yes, he could still be bot side, he could be clearing Gromp, he could be down here in like 10 seconds if we try to engage in us, right? So they get poke off, they're cutting down HP as much as possible. All of this is just kind of for Nidalee to come down. So what Udyr does here is he's going to grab his blue. I don't remember if he grabs his Gromp or not, but he's going to come down, he's going to wait for Nidalee to come back. Because what's happening here is they're just kind of AFK pushing the wave. Putting themselves in a spot where Nidalee can potentially come bot and gank again. And that's what they want. They're looking for a counter gank. They hand over the blue to LeBlanc so she can match Zoe wave clear. So hypothetically, if she can wave clear fast enough, she can be down to roam first. Alright, so this is the same thing that happened last time Nidalee came down. Last time Nidalee came down, Leona goes around. She looks to sweep vision so that Nidalee can come in unabated. And then that comes down. That comes down, right? So as soon as Leona goes here, that should be a tipping point, or a kind of tipping a flag to the fact that, all right, there's a good chance Nidalee's coming back. They call Udyr down. They look to get him. In the bush for a counter gank, right? So right, Nidalee's there. This happened last time. We recognize this. They clear vision. All right, that's that. Udyr's looking to get into the lane. They have to kill that minion before he does. All right, that minion goes down. That minion goes down. All right, Udyr's in the lane. There's no vision at all. So this is something where if Udyr is pathing normally, because of the time that Dragon was taken, what JDG can assume is that he went here, cleared his bot side, and is now around Wolves to Raptors pathing up, right? It's not guaranteed, but you can assume, you can hope, going off the idea that Udyr is pathing efficiently to actually clear his camps on timers, right? Top basically plays off of this assumption, basically saying, all right, you can assume that I'm going topside. I'm going to path in efficiently so I can actually be here because this is your timer to gank, right? I'm going to have my bot lane play overly aggressive, put them in a spot where they could potentially get ganked, but I'm going to be here to actually do something about it, right? Because in the 3v3, once Varus hits 6, this is actually a fight that they can actually win, just due to Varus ult, chain CC, locking down one target. At the very least, they can trade 1 for 0. If it goes really great, they can trade 2 for 0, maybe 2 for 1. And assuming a Jhin force shot comes out of the bad time. So they know they don't have flash. They know, all right, they will have timed my my flash. They know it's going to be up in 20 seconds. If they're going to do it, they have to do it now, which is why he's kind of just back here, hitting back and then resetting. So as soon as the flash timer comes down, the plan was probably for him to fully reset, and then head towards his top side, right? But they at least have to be here for the end of this timer, because if they're going to do it, they're going to do it in the next 10 seconds. So that's why he's allowed to just kind of be here spamming reset and bush. You can see it. They keep pushing the wave. They keep feigning pressure. All right, finally happens. Like I said, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it in the next 10 seconds. Udyr comes down. Because he has cleanse, he's not actually at risk of dying, and they can actually just kill the Leona here for free. All right, they get that. Chain's over there. They end up getting away. Now, here's the thing. Because of what's going on in mid lane, you can't actually go for the second kill here. You can kill the Leona and just kind of take that and accept that, but Zoe's wave clear is just way too excessive at this point in the game. And what you do is you see LeBlanc sees that Zoe's here. She's pathing bot side. Even if this is happening, Jhin hits 6. You have to walk away, right? You're being held here for way too long. So this is a little bit greedy to try to overcommit for the Nidalee. They end up getting punished for it. All right, shots come in. They're slowed down. Zoe's headed bot. They can't get away. So their best case scenario there is to try to look to trade for someone else. So at this stage, lane is entirely over. They overstay. 6-1. I don't know the outcome of this game, but this is more than enough for a team of Renekton, Nidalee, Jhin, and Zoe to kind of snowball off of, right? So like I said, this lane is essentially over. He's 1-3. Jhin is going to probably reset, have full mythic, and that's that, right? So we're going to go to his next game. Oops, sorry. You're not supposed to see that yet. In which the matchup is... wait for this to play out. Wait for this to play out. All right, perfect. Matchup, like I said, Kalista Nautilus versus Varus Thresh. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the kind of lane you want for Varus. You want to have the Thresh so they're not entirely just at risk of dying every single time something here happens. So back to runes. You take Halo Blades, obviously on Kalista, because your two options are Halo Blades and press the attack, right? If you're not in a lane where you can consistently proc press the attack for extra damage, then Halo Blades is just better. Also, just being able to just get the 3 autos off as fast as possible makes your trading so incredibly oppressive early with E-stacks. So I think that Halo Blades has kind of really overshadowed press the attacks in recent patches, and until it gets further nerfed, you're going to continue to see a lot of AD carries, especially Kalista here, take Halo Blades consistently. So they know they're at Ignite advantage. Thresh has to take Exhaust literally just for Kalista E. If he doesn't, they auto lose the 2v2, right? It's something similar to when you're playing against Tristana. You have to take Exhaust against Tristana for when her E is about to go off to kind of stop her from just kind of all-inning you every time she gets the chance. She has to keep that in mind. Same thing here, Kalista. Kalista has to keep the Exhaust in mind. Right, so they're just 5-pointing. It's simple. It's simple. So I actually think that the bot lane here does something very, very interesting, and I like it a lot, and I'm going to show you in a second. So what ends up happening here is that Elise decides that she is going to solo blue. Right? She doesn't want to show where she's starting, because hypothetically, you know, a very common place for Elise to for Renekton to crash wave 3, Elise to be up there, you dive on wave 3, right? That's something super common. So what they want to do is they want to say, yes, that's happening, yes, that's happening. And what TES ends up actually doing is when red buff spawns, they have him auto it, take some chip damage, and then uses Q to actually say that he used mana, right? What this does is this simulates Elise. That didn't actually happen. Because you know the Renekton didn't do it because Renekton's pulling the wave, right? What they're trying to say is they're trying to say, all right, Elise started red buff, she started red buff, she's going to be pathing towards topside, right? And Ornn needs to be ready, or maybe JDG jungle needs to be ready for a gank around level 3, right? So they don't fully show in lane, wait for him to finish up. What they're going to do is they're going to see the fact that some HP is gone, some mana's gone, all right? They leash spot, they're going to be calling out the leash spot, right? This is actually something that I think is super, super nice, super, super interesting. The HP doesn't matter in the long run for the Nautilus. And it's something that you can actually do very, very nicely, right? So he throws that hook. If he hits, they get a nice trade. If he doesn't hit, it's whatever. It really doesn't matter, right? So he's going to get that E trade on the Nautilus off of the minion. Or not the Nautilus, on the Thresh off of the minion. So they end up trading evenly in HP. Those early Thresh E autos really kind of hurt a lot, especially if they're charged up, but they're just going to kind of concede level 1 to Varus. It's a little bit difficult to contest an AD carry that A outranges you in Varus, and B also has E, essentially a slows on Kalista are basically mini exhausts, I guess, because it slows down how much damage you can actually put out because of her unique auto attacks, right? So they get that nice thing out. Like I said here, if you land one hook without the exhaust, it's an instant 100 to 0. One thing that Jackeylove does that I actually think is very, very nice here is he holds pulling off the E until after the exhaust falls off. Because he had enough autos, he knew what the timer was on it, that he knew that he can get maximum damage out of it by just waiting just a little bit longer to pull out the E. So it's actually getting a very nice trade against the Thresh. From this stage in the lane, they're allowed to just basically control the lane, right? So what Elise ended up doing, she ended up clearing blue, Gromp, red, so she 3-camped into invading here, right? Because what the idea is they're going to think, all right, at least started bot side, there's no way she could possibly beat our blue buff. They play off that to look for an early fight, right? So when they see they're going to see that Nidalee walk over a ward in just a second. Where is it? Oh, did they see? Oh yeah, sorry. They saw Nidalee walk over the ward. They see the blue buff is still up. So what they do is because of the pressure they had in lane with the Thresh, they immediately walk the Nautilus up, and Kalista is allowed to just kind of stay here to just kind of hold freeze, because where the wave is right now, it's in a spot where it can essentially never move as long as someone is actually tending to it, right? So they move the Nautilus up, knowing they don't need the Kalista. With the lockdown between Nautilus and Elise and the early burst they have, Kalista is not needed to really catch someone out and insta-kill them, right? So he watches the fight, like I said, get that off, end up just flashing out, it's no problem, right? Kalista's there in case they want to chase, so they can't chase out. Kalista's HP is too high, their HP is too low. Alright, that's actually very nice. So from here, they can just have the Nautilus reset, and Jackeylove can just hold freeze. It's a situation where whatever Varus could come back with doesn't actually matter in the long run. He doesn't actually reset anyway, right? So he just kind of holds freeze here. He's looking to kind of match Varus push. He can do pretty much whatever he wants. Another thing you can notice here is that Jackeylove's going Q-Max. In most lanes, what you would assume is that Kalista would go E-Max, because you know that's where she gets a lot of her damage, where she gets the extra damage on her auto attacks. But in this lane specifically, what you can't realistically rely on is getting a lot of auto attacks into someone that outranges you, like Varus. So in order to be able to match poke and be able to match harass, you have to actually kind of go Q-Max, because Q base damage is actually very, very high. And the range is longer than you initially think. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to kind of either stack a minion and then Q through it and get those stacks into Varus, and then eventually pull E off of it, or it just allows you to just kind of get base, just Q poke into Varus for a spot that actually, like, you know, allows you to kind of match his poke with you. Because the Q is it's a pretty fast projectile. It's not something you're really going to realistically be able to dodge unless you see it coming, right? So it's kind of a spot where you literally have to do it to kind of match Varus poke and be able to get harassed down ahead of an all-in with E, right? You see she kind of tried to do that there, where she's stacking the spears and trying to get it onto him. He unfortunately didn't step ahead far enough, but again, she holds the wave here. So from where the wave is right now, the wave will slow push out. She knows that. She starts just kind of fast pushing it. Like I said, 125 at level 2. That's it's not exactly a paltry amount of damage, right? So as of right now, they're playing the lane pretty well. She got her W. She's going to look to kind of get the wave out, it looks like, but Varus is fighting her on it. Yeah. The reason Varus is fighting on it, because they know that the Nidalee is actually looking for an invade here, they have to be able to walk up in a manner that's actually fast enough. Unfortunately, Nidalee gets spotted out. They just collapse on Nidalee. Nidalee should die here, I believe. Okay, she blows flash. Alright, so that's an easy collapse. Wave's in a good spot. What Kalista wants to actually deal with in most situations is as long of a lane as possible. Because if she's in a long lane, she can actually chase you down it, right? Especially due to the fact that Thresh no longer has splash. Thresh is very, very, very killable here, right? So the longer the lane they have to work with, the better. So over here, they're going to look to get the wave in and eventually bounce it. Because if they can get it in and bounce it, then by the next time that Elise is bot side, they can look to actually dive. And they can look to actually gank them. Alright, so large wave is coming in. Elise is setting up for a dive. Big wave, big wave, big wave. Alright, so when this wave comes in, with the way that they're posturing forward, the other team has to assume they're being dove, right? You don't know where Elise is. All you know is a big wave's coming in, and it looks like it's deliberate, right? Just by Elise just being there, what that allows to have happen is they're forced off the wave enough that they're missing some experience, they're missing some gold. Maybe you even get a plate. It's close, but it's not guaranteed. But it's something that you can actually look to do. What Elise also could have done if she really wanted to commit to it, she could have stepped out of the bush to basically say, yes, I 100% here. It's not speculation. To force them off of the wave entirely. You can only really do that if you know that Nidalee is not on bot side. Obviously, you think that Nidalee is on bot side due to the fact that she just flashed out of your red side jungle, most likely to her blue side, right? So she would at least be around Wolves or Gromp at this stage. So it looks like they're just looking to crash this next wave, get it in if they can, and then get Kalista sitting on 1400. So yeah, they get it. They at least take out the cannon, get rid of that. They're looking to get the resets off. Unfortunately, it gets stopped. So Nautilus resetting in that bush is super, super unlucky because what it basically tells you is it tells you that Kalista's in the next bush. So you can actually stop her reset without ever having to actually face check. So here's something you actually have to realize what's going on top lane. What they're doing top lane is setting up a big play top lane, right? They're setting up a 3-man dive on the Ornn with Renekton, Lucian, and Elise. What that tells you about bot lane is that for as soon as they show top, you can be rotated on bot lane, right? There's the whole idea that you shouldn't be looking to make 2 plays on the map at one time because you can't cover all of them in a way that's actually safe, right? This is kind of that idea in motion. As soon as you show 3 here and a wave is kind of crashing into you, I believe that what you're going to see is you're going to see Jace shove in lane and then walk kind of down. Let me skip a hill a little bit. Yep, shoves in wave. All right, as soon as Jace leaves here, especially because he's leaving towards bot side, you can see him leaving towards bot side. In a normal case, if they're not making a play on you, Jace is just beating down the tower. He takes towers very fast. He's going to look to get plates, right? What happened instead is because he's walking bot, you have to just kind of concede this push, right? What you don't want to have happen is you want to take as little HP damage as possible, so that if they try to dive you and you actually want to contest it, it's very, very difficult, right? So Nautilus, what he does here is kind of he ends up trying to contest a wave actually coming in when he knows that they're being rotated on, right? If he puts himself in a spot like where you just kind of allow the wave to come in, whatever, he can't get hooked. He can't get chunked down to like half HP. As soon as Nautilus gets chunked down to half HP, it's like turbo doomed, right? Because now instead of a full HP Nautilus with Aftershock ready to go, you have a Nautilus at 300 HP, and you're getting 3-man dove by Thresh, Jace, and whatever. Heal's already blown. You're in a spot where if the Nautilus has more HP, you can maybe look to trade 1 for 1 or even 1 for 2. Right? Yeah, 1 for 2. Like worst case scenario for you, if he doesn't eat the hook ahead of time, is Thresh dies. At the very least, you're trading for something. You're not trading like 2 for 0, 2 for 0, and tower plates, right? And the wave, which you don't get now. So, like I said, as soon as these 3 show topside, you have to know that you're being dove. You have to be getting dove. The wave's coming in. Jace is no longer in lane. There's only one thing that could possibly be happening, right? So this is kind of a misplay on their part in terms of mental. All right, so pushing the wave again. Luckily, it's a cannon wave, so at the very least, they'll just miss the cannon, and that's it. Because the cannon's going to eat a lot of that, a lot of the tower aggro on their way back. All right, skip ahead a little bit, skip ahead. All right, they didn't even miss the cannon. That's good. All right, push out the wave. Just checking the map, checking to see what's going on there. Nautilus can leave lane as much as possible because Kalista's fairly safe in this lane. Even if she gets poked a lot, or she can get poked a lot by the Varus, she has enough dodging abilities and kind of abilities to kind of get herself out of these kind of situations and kite out that she's kind of very difficult to actually kill. So now that they're on bot side here, what she wants to do, she wants to build up a wave and she wants to kind of get it pushed out so that she can be first to rotate to Drake here. So wave's getting built, She's still last hitting, she knows it's getting built. She wants to be big enough that they can't actually ignore it to walk up to Drake to contest, right? That's the idea. The idea is the wave is so large that Varus can't justify sacking it to go to Drake, right? All right, big wave, big wave, big wave. This is the one that actually gets pushed in on. Get a little bit of poke with the Q. That's what I was talking about earlier. So you can actually harass the Varus back. So now they look to fast push it. Pings are going up onto the dragon. Walking up. Alright, never mind. They're resetting going up top to Herald. They decide not to do it. They don't know what they need to do it. So instead, they just have this happen. Crash the wave, get some HP back. They can perhaps look for an all-in now that they're both 6. Same thing happened as earlier. They just like to push the wave in. Nautilus is walking up and resetting. Alright, so when the wave gets pushed in and Nautilus resets, what this basically says is that, alright, we're doing Herald right now. What I want to do is I want to reset and I want to get, hold on, does Nautilus have his upgraded support item yet? Yes, he does. Alright, Nautilus has upgraded support item. What he wants to do is he wants to get the 3 wards. Because if you do it without resetting, you just have the 1 ward, and that kind of sucks for vision control, right? So he wants to get his 3 wards. Head up, start setting up vision for Drake, because once they get the Herald, they're going to look to get the Drake next. Alright, she just kind of has to wait for the wave to come in. Not really much else she can do. Alright, she's catching it. Alright, so he's got this. He's starting to set up vision. Lucian can come down. Kalista can come up if she wants to, but instead she's going to reset. Right. So Kalista resetting with 1200 is extremely important. It's something I mentioned earlier, actually yesterday in the Lucian Proview from PoE. If you're sitting on more than 1,000 gold before a objective comes up, you have to look as hard as you possibly can for a reset, because you're sitting on way too much stats that you can use for the objective contest to realistically look to actually do it properly, right? So she pushes the wave out, resets her resets to spend this gold. She's going to get Noon Quiver and maybe one or two other things, right? Yeah, she gets Noon Quiver, and alright, so that just kind of shows you how important. Oh, she doesn't get Noon Quiver. Alright, now she gets the Vamp Scepter. Alright, Vamp Scepter and mostly Noon Quiver. Alright, that works. As long as she's spending on the actual stats, right? She doesn't really need the help from Noon Quiver to actually last hit minions. She has her E for that. What the Vamp Scepter allows you to do is allows you to take less favorable trades and just kind of sustain through them, right? Okay. So now she's going up to catch wave. Nautilus is mid. I believe Thresh was also mid, so in the 1v1 against Varus, she's totally fine. She just has to contest wave to make sure the wave actually gets pushed out in time for Drake, because now they're actually going to do the dragon. Alright, she's pushing it out, she's pushing it out. And she's there now. Alright. So this Drake contest is pretty much impossible for the side of JDG. They're going up against an Elise and Kalista Nautilus. At this stage in the game, you're just not going to outsmite it unless you can outright kill them. You can't really do anything. So they get that. This is unfortunate. This is kind of very unfortunate. It looks like it was just poor reaction time. Ideally, you kind of get you get the flash out of the Varus. You look to dodge the Varus ult, but as soon as the Varus ult hits, you just die. This is something that I think is actually not talked about enough. Just accepting a death. You're sitting there at about 100 HP. There's no reason to look to flash and heal for something you cannot possibly get out of, right? You're in a spot where, right, as soon as this hits, you're getting hooked here. Like, you're telling me that at this stage, after he just healed, he has like 300 HP left. There are 3 people on top of you that the flash is going to save you. Like, it's something you have to kind of just recognize. I would rather save my flash and my heal for another occasion, where we can actually look to get something positive about it, rather than expend both and just die, right? Like, if you're going to die, accepting the death is something that's actually super important. It allows you to get your resources out elsewhere. It's the same thing where people just like throw their ultimate at the wall when they're going to die anyway, right? If it's not going to buy enough time to actually be realistically worth it, then there's no reason to ever actually do it, right? So at this state, lane is essentially over again, like I mentioned earlier. I hope this was helpful. You got to see 2 different lanes, 2 different ways of playing it out. Some interesting things are done in the lane. You get to see where you're actually allowed to stand in certain lanes without being punished. And yeah, I'll be putting out, like I said, I do these about 3 to 4 times a week. If you have any specific matchups you want me to look at, feel free to message me on Discord. I have it in my about section now, or just leave a comment, and I'll look into it. All right, thanks a lot. Talk to you later.